Okay. It says the content of this meeting is being sent to YouTube. Alrighty then. Well, where are we on YouTube? Are we? I don't see us yet. I can still say good morning because it's not noon yet here on the East Coast. There we are. Now it says we're on YouTube. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sheila Corona. Welcome to New Light Streaming Love. Today is Friday, March the 14th, 2025. We had a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo overnight last night. Uh, well, at least here on the East Coast. I believe it was, that's why a lot of astrologers were putting it out that it was 13th and 14th, because it started on the 13th and completed on the 14th. And I guess this one's supposed to be a big one, because it is happening conjunct the South Lunar Node, which, from what I can gather, now, don't quote me, I am not an astrologer. I don't even play one on YouTube, but I am teaching myself astrology. And I guess the South Lunar Node, which, just so you know, the node is the point in the sky where the poles of the moon are pointing in the zodiac, right? So the south node is supposed to be associated with past things, past lives, past and from what I can gather, things that in this particular life we are here to wrap up, finish, um, move from one way of being to another, right? And this particular full moon lunar eclipse, which is apparently a full moon on steroids, is the way it's always described, is all about endings, all about seeing what hasn't worked for one and moving on, letting it go and moving on. Um, so, that's very interesting. Again, because of it being associated with and apparently conjunct with the South Node, which, if I remember from what I recorded last night, is sitting in Taurus at the moment, if I'm remembering that correct. At any rate, so there we have that, and I've already been out of the house this morning and come back. I had a beautiful interaction with a complete stranger, and I was gifted a nebulizer by this stranger. It was something that happened through Facebook. Lady said she had some nebulizers that belonged to, I can't remember if she said her father or her grandfather who had passed, and she was wishing to gift them to someone who was in need. And it turned out that I'm in need. And so one of the beautiful things that I just adore, as you can see the octopi behind me there, if you're not familiar with me, that is something that I love to do. I have taught myself how to make little crochet animals, and I only work on them when I'm in a state of complete joy. And because I'm convinced that they are infused with said joy. This is one of my first. Uh, these guys were called. There's something on Sesame Street. At any rate, somebody created this, and this was my very first attempt at that. And I keep it on my desk to, as you can see, I hang my butterflies on him. But he's a little hanging bag, really. Um, they were supposed to be aliens in the Sesame Street. What were they called? Somebody in the comments, let me know if you know. Um, they always just had the little meep 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 or something like that. They didn't really speak. But at any rate, I love doing that and gifting them to people. And in case you have not heard the story, the most beautiful thing for me is that Lisa and I had set ourselves up at a local farmer's market. And I wanted to just gift. I had I had such a stack of these little, at the time, all I had was octopi. And I had such a huge inventory of them that I didn't have any place. Good morning, my love. Journey Intuit joining us this morning. Um, I had such a huge stack of them that I couldn't really do anything more with them. And people were so confused that I was just trying to give these away. They would walk up and say, "Well, how much?" And I would say, "They're not for sale. It's a gift. Please choose one." And, there were so many people that wouldn't take it because I didn't assign a dollar amount to it. And I said, "No, you don't understand. This is my gift to you." And I finally decided that I would say, if you want to donate something that will allow me to purchase more yarn and more stuffing and more eyes, I'd be happy to accept whatever donation you'd like to give. And it turns out that the very first lady I said that to worked for a local yarn mill here in North Carolina. And she was in charge of getting rid of yarns that they would sample as colors and different things. And she gifted me 9 huge boxes of yarn. I am still making characters from those 9 boxes of yarn. And by the way, that was in 2018, I want to say, late 2018, 2019, one of those right before the pandemic. And so now all I have to do is purchase, the stuffing and the eyes. And I just love doing that. And the joy that it brings is something. So it turns out I knew, I had a feeling that this lady that I was interacting with, which we still didn't even see each other, she set the nebulizer out on her porch. And I felt that there were children involved. And so I took my little, all I have right now are jellyfish. And I took them with me. And I didn't even ask her. I just told her as I was leaving that I felt that, and if not, then they were to move through her to someone else. Turns out she had 2 little girls. Turns out that she said that I made her little girls smile that day. And so I just have to say that when you move with your heart and towards that which brings you joy, oh my gosh, so much good things happen. I mean, at least that's been my experience so far. And it certainly has not uh, disappointed me. So, at any rate, I wanted to share that because, wow, what an experience this morning. First thing, I mean, it made my day all the way around. Okay, so I wanted to come and do a reading this morning, and I want to also issue the invitation. Again, I will continue to issue the invitation. I am ready to start having the conscious conversations again. I want, and I would love for folks to, say, "Hey, I want to have conversations." There are things, because listen, I'm not trying to say that I know this is that way. No, no, I don't. I have certain feelings that things are a certain way. I have certain knowings. My knowings have turned out to be wrong. We've all talked about that before with my whole Corona going viral thing, because that wasn't wrong. It was just my interpretation of it was off, right? And so that's very much a thing. Um, so if you are interested in having a conversation with me, I would love to, and not just me either, me, Journey into It. I'm ready to start doing that. I miss them. It's something that I really enjoyed doing, and I really would like to have that start again. So if that's something that you are interested in, would love to have you reach out, Conscious Conversation Central at gmail.com, because for one thing, I really do feel like since we are both physical beings and divinity all in one package, at least this is my premise at the moment. There are so many ways to view things, to take information in. Everybody processes things in different ways. And I adore having those sorts of conversations. Um, you know, there are a lot of folks who really think that, once they understand a concept, well, that's done, that's it, that's how it is. And that's okay if that's how someone feels. Personally, I've been shown over and over and over again for myself where I can only take in and understand a concept to the level of consciousness that I have going on in that moment. Meaning, for me, with every passing moment that I keep my thought process open, my ways of understanding open to being shown new data, new information, new ways of seeing something, taking it in, understanding it. And the only way I can do that is if I have others who are willing to come and share what they think, how they are processing information. Does not mean that you're wrong or I'm wrong. That's kind of what I mean when I say that I can be right for me and wrong for you, right for you and wrong for me, all in the same breath. Because that is how this works, at least so far. That's what I understand. And so it takes interaction. It takes somebody being willing to step up and say, yes, I'll have a conversation with you. I think I know X, Y, and Z. What do you think about this? Because sometimes what happens, and this is why I love having conscious conversations, is that together, as the conversation, this is what Lisa has referred to as resonance building. We'll be having a conversation, and she will present her thoughts and feelings on this conversation. I will present my thoughts and feelings on this conversation. And it turns out that together we build this resonance, and this resonance actually increases both of our knowledge base, if you will. It allows more data that neither one of us had considered, which is another reason why in our book study groups, I love to have it where we read the book together. We stop and have conversation about what we're reading, because that too does the exact same thing. And without that kind of willingness to be open and have open ended conversation, and conversation is just that, it's conversation. It's not a presentation about this is the way it is, right? Which a lot of people actually get those confused. um, Mostly because we're taught that, right? In our, oh my goodness. The one card came out. Here I am talking about all of this, and that is just, oh, I can't even stand it. Um, because we are all one and yet singular all at the same time. The only thing that separates you from me is the experiences you've had in your body since you've been in that body. Outside of that body, we are one consciousness. I am just certain of that. There's just, I don't know why, but in the most expansive way of thinking and feeling into what is, I'm just certain that that's what we got going on. And again, I could be wrong about that too. Um, but it sure is fun to have these conversations, to be exposed to other thought processes, ways of seeing things, ways of taking information in, because we all have been exposed to different perspectives, just like the fact that we are the one looking out through this peephole called Sheila. There's two eyes here, right? And the one that has been programmed and conditioned since it's been in here has a particular way of seeing things and taking information in that is completely different from anyone else on the planet. And that is the way for me that it's meant to be. So that I want to put that invitation out there again for folks to who are interested in having those sorts of conversations to hit me up. Oh, I love this. Okay, that's very interesting too. We've got some very divine numbers coming out here today. 7, 5, 6, and 3 so far. Wow. Okay. So the email address for getting in touch with me is consciousconversationscentral@gmail.com. And just let me know that you are, and we can meet in Zoom if you are kind of worried or scared or whatever about appearing on YouTube. I don't know why that is, but it's really just a conversation. I It always feels a little weird to me that people get all in their head about being on YouTube, because I guess they equate it in some way to being on TV, which I feel the same way about that. It's like it's just you and me having a conversation, and people, and who gives a crap if somebody doesn't agree with you? Because again, that's the way it's meant to be. If we all just got over ourselves a little bit and realized that it's okay, we don't have to agree to everything. But it seems like that's the other thing that's been lost, is that it used to be, at least back when I was younger, and was having conversations with folks in my peer group, we could actually agree to disagree and still remain friends. And for whatever reason, that has seemed to disappear. And the only way for that to come back is for folks to get over themselves and realize that, well, We don't have to be that way just because there are those on the planet who want it to be that way. We don't all have to be that way. So I would love to hear from you if that's something that is somebody over here seems to be yelling at me, but I don't know who. Oh, no, that's enough. Okay. So as I was saying that, and I knew that, because this is the lunar eclipse where we're meant to let things go, right? There will definitely be endings according to all the astrologers so far that I've actually listened to. Um, I had to choose from the surrender deck, and it's surrender stubbornness, something that I definitely have been, and still am most of the time, I have to admit. If you're tensing up or taking a rigid stance about something, gently observe yourself and become more yielding. This will help you communicate more lovingly with others and with yourself. Well, wow, isn't that true? Isn't that interesting that that one come out this morning? Just as I was talking about, being rigid in the way we think and thinking that everybody has to think the same way. I don't know, can't you, for me, that really screams old paradigm. It screams conformity. It screams programming and conditioning. Everybody must be on the same page and think the same way and do the same thing. Line up. We're all going outside now. You got to line up. I mean, that's not the way this is supposed to go down, at least not in my view. And it actually doesn't work like that anyway, whether we try to force it or not. It really doesn't work like that anyway. So might as well let that go. So the alchemy elementals that came out, and interestingly enough, it shows a full moon in this one that came out. And it is water, ocean, moon. And the moon really is, in my view, um, seen as an emotional planetary body. It is seen as the almost considering the dark feminine, which to me, femininity is dark. It not in the same way as a lot of folks would try to paint it as bad or wrong or, dark versus light. And see, that's part of the issue. We're moving away from the or and into and. It's always been there, but our consciousness of it is expanding. And all of femininity is darkness anyway. It all happens within the inner, which is uh, less known, if you will, right? So, water, ocean, moon. Card number or page number 35. The card number is 21, which is the Trinity, and it's on page 35, which is an 8, that materialization, manifestation, numerologically. Okay, and it says, there exists a deep well of knowledge within our emotions and our intuition, but there is no shortcut to these treasures. The only way to access this wisdom is to journey into the deepest depths of ourselves and to trust the subtle, sensitive truths that await us there. This knowledge is delicate. Sometimes it is only half form, molded of metaphor, image, symbol, and feeling, all associated with the feminine for me, let's just say. Trust the knowingness that exists inside of you. Dare to perceive what is hidden and can only be found through your intuition. Do not doubt this knowledge and do not doubt your ability to access it. Your confidence is the key to unlocking the secrets within. Oh my God, that is so true. When I first started this journey, I really did feel like I had no connection to a team or my inner guidance or any of that. And it turns out that that voice, that inner voice is there. I just didn't tune into it. And that is also why when I do the intuitive hangout sessions, I'm so grateful for all of you that show up and participate in that with me, because these cards are the way for me to tune in, to use these as a tool to tune into me. And it will be different for everyone how you tune into you. Some people get earworms. I do that too, but some people only get songs that play in their head over and over and over until they get the message. Some people see things in their outer world, the synchronicities that happen, and that works the best for them. Each being will find their way. And it is imperative, I think, that we all do that. For me, that's the only way forward. Oh, I love that. And I love the fact that it did show up as a full moon. And you see this beneath the water with these hands here. This is such a multi-level, multi-dimensional card here. And I feel like it is perfectly describing not just this lunar eclipse, but the feminine, and also what each, and a lot of people, uh, personally, I feel like that's some of what the confusion is on the earth at this time about gender and all of that, because of the different parts of us that are rising to be met and to be understood in a better way, in a more coherent fashion. To be honest with you, that's what I see and feel. So now the fairies want to come out next, and there were two that jumped out, and for the first time, I've had one that came out upside down. So in the reverse. And so we'll be reading the reverse of that card today. But the very first one that jumped out was G Habya. And this is card number 61, which is a 7 numerologically. And for me, the 7 is a divine number. I don't really, I know that there are those who would say that, oh, well, there's a lot of sevens in the Bible. And I know that that's so, but I'm not quite sure why I feel that way. Because when I feel into it, it's not tied to that. So very interesting to me that he come out. And the key words for Jihabya here are imaginary fears, unreal hazards, realistic caution. He refuses to tell me what the G in his name stands for, because he says the more we know about him, the less power he has and the harder it is to do his job. This tells you a lot about him. His power lie in our imaginations and fears, not in the real world. not in any of the real worlds. This is the wicked thing in the closet who keeps frightened children awake at night with eerie, snuffling, wuffling sounds. But when you turn on the light and open the door, he isn't there. Now, all of a sudden, I want y'all to know that my hands are very hot and I'm being overrun with heat, which is kind of interesting to me because it is not necessary, it's not cold here, but it's also not hot here. And I wasn't hot until just now. So that's interesting. My hands are very warm and they are buzzing. So I want to just call that out. I don't know if maybe someone that showed up is in need of Reiki or why, but my Reiki definitely has turned on. Okay, so Brian wrote, quote, he exists only through the collection of our fears. The Habya thrives on fears, getting stronger and stronger until we face him. He is a sham, a tiny fear blown all out of proportion, and the smallest positive thought will banish him. All of fairyland knows this, and none is afraid of him. G. Habya's job is to wave our imaginary fears in front of us, making them look as alive and real as he can. He's pretty good at this. The challenge he offers us is to see that certain fears our of ours are imaginary and to distinguish them from things we actually need to be cautious about. In this way, he tries to teach us to look past the fear and see the realio trulio truth, whatever that truth is. It is a difficult job, and G. Habya, the Pook, Gotcha, and the Feline, a few other hard-working fairies get together twice a week for otherworld nectar, hazelnuts, cheese, and applesauce, and to grumble about humans and to support each other. The work they do, hard as it is merely an apprenticeship for the much harder work for which they get to wear a starry crown, like Epona's wild daughter uh, and Lise of the Shadows. It takes a lot of practice and skill in dealing with human flaws to get promoted to that level. If you could hear the stories they tell. It is time to look for the truth behind our fears. Well, given that we are still in the energy of this full moon lunar eclipse, which the full moon is all about illumination, seeing things as they are, right? I cannot unsee that. And the fact that all of the astrologers are talking about finally seeing something that we may have had some inkling of, but have been unwilling to process, and to allow that process to get all the way through to the end and really allowing it to end. I find this kind of interesting. So I'm going to read that again. It is time to look for the truth behind our fears, to distinguish between what is real and what is just our projection of old traumas and fears into our imaginary future. By delving into our old patterns, we can see past them to a more liberating life. Only by facing these fears honestly and seeing them for what they for what they are, do we gain greater ability to open our hearts to the singer of courage and gain in strength to face the really difficult challenges in our lives. Each false fear confronted and resolved makes us stronger. And I can attest to that because, oh my goodness, when my 28.5 year marriage broke up in 2017, oh my goodness, did I have a lot of fears that I had to face. The fear that I couldn't go on my own because of my disabilities, that I wouldn't be able to survive out here without his protection and without him to fall back on. Well, it's 2025. I've done pretty well for myself, to be honest. So I get it for all of us that are, moving through these sorts of things. Now, the other fairy that wanted to come out today is one of the fairy guides and guardians. Jihabya is a challenger, what's called a challenger in this lineup. And this one is Iris of the Rainbow, and it's card number 32, which is a 5 numerologically, which is again all about change for me. Fives are all about change. And I can't help but know and see, especially if you're still here journeying to it, that this card is number 32 and it was in the reverse. Iris of the Rainbows. So what I'm going to do is read her description, and then I'll jump straight to the reversed meaning instead of in the starter reading. So there are key words for the card overall. Like I said, this is the first time in all the years that I've owned this deck that a card has actually turned up in the reverse. So that's kind of interesting to me. And I just love this card. The key words for this card are hope, promise for the future. Blue skies and rain are the realm of Iris, the rainbow fairy. She dwells at the meeting of air, the element of the mind, and water, the element of emotion. She sits, rainbow-hued wings outspread, suspended in mid-air, partially wrapped in her deep sky draperies and crowned with iris blossoms. The fairy archers tip their arrows in her potent handful of iridescent light. Firing their arrows, they send polychromatic rays into the storm, bringing light to dismal skies and hope to darkened hearts. Beneath the rainbow fairy, the amphibious creatures of a wet earth crouch. The fairy frog maiden and the frog, anyone care to kiss him and see what happens? Peer out from their shelter at the storm-racked world, while the shadowed sun is dimly seen above Iris's head. Sturdy, pot-bellied gnomes, their toes rooted in the earth, sport sweeping whiskers to prove their entitlement to their single iris crowns, while the helpful fairy amphibians hold transparent rainbow-filled globes for the rainbow fairy. Everyone, especially Iris herself, is fully absorbed in the task of reclaiming the bright sky from the dark of the storm. In her hand, the light of heaven's bow looks a fragile thing, yet it is the light of hope, the promise of healing and joy to come, and that is one of the most powerful things there is. Now, on to the reversed meaning of this card, because this is the way that it came out. It is true that there is hope and there is promise for the future, but it is at present obscured or delayed. There may well be more trials to be met before we come to the end of this storm. Iris reminds us that hope, prayer, and faith may be needed, that help is there if we ask for it, though it may not come in the form we request. That's been happening a lot, if you ask me, because I keep being shown where I've labeled things one thing in the moment, only to be shown sometimes long time hence that it wasn't at all what I labeled it. She reminds us in these difficult times to remember our aspirations, to consider who it is that we are trying to become, and to hold those images surrounded by her prismatic light in our minds as we pass through this time of darkness. This feels like a very specific reading for some beautiful beings that I happen to know very close to my heart. All times of hardship offer us the same challenge: to grow or to diminish. The choice is ours, but she is ready to lighten our path if we will accept her offering into our hearts. No storm, no darkness lasts forever. And there's a quote here from Brian. Winged female fairies are the soul's messengers, representing the spirit freed from the mundane. They are creatures of aspiration and transcendence, flying between the worlds, between heaven and earth, between the body and soul. Well, the saying that I was encouraged the entire time that I was really here and not here, because there, as y'all know, or those of you that have followed me for a long time, there in the last couple of years, I have not been present on any YouTube channel like I was prior. And the whole time that I was moving through a lot of that, which were conversations with death, is what I called it and still call it. The words, this too shall pass, are ones that I absolutely had to embrace, because every day I would get up and I wasn't feeling very strong. And there's been a lot of that here recently, even again, for me personally. There's a lot of activity between the earth and the sun. And, there's been a lot of damage that I did to this physical vessel. And I really do feel like, for me personally, that is why I had to have those conversations with death, to realize that it's not at all what we've been programmed and conditioned to believe, first of all. That's, another reason why a lot of the books that I have been guided to read and share on this channel and on my channel, Sassy Seer Sheila, happen to come into my life at moments when they were desperately required. And they absolutely showed me in ways that I can't even really communicate to you, how it is just a transition from one state of being to another, death itself. And it is nothing to be feared, which is again, what came out today. So I don't know if that's helpful, but given that everything that I keep being shown in the last 24 hours, even, that's kind of interesting to me that those bits come out specifically. So now for our last card, it is a Rumi from the Rumi Oracle, and it's card number 6. The number of love, balance, and harmony. And it is 1. Ta-da! And whenever I see this card, I actually really, I feel like it's supposed to actually be like this. Even though that's, purportedly upside down, I feel as though the larger portion of me is coming into this physical vessel. And the physical vessel is much smaller than the light that is me, the one. And it has to compress itself in, right? And so there's that for me. Wow. At any rate, so I have abolished duality from myself. I have seen the two worlds as one. One I seek, one I know, one I see, and one I call. Rumi. You look for me, and what do you see? You. Am I playing games with you? Holding up a mirror for you to behold God? Yes. These are games of love and truth. Look for me and find yourself, for I am you, and you are me. And together we are one, playing hide and seek in love's great playground. Like more molten gold poured from the furnace of divine love into a one-of-a-kind mold, you are the created uniquely and of divine essence. You are both the lover and the beloved. There is no aspect of your life separate from your spiritual journey, and there is no aspect of you that is not of divine origin. So then, why the frowning, the fear, or the questioning? Let me share a sublime secret with you. Let me whisper it into your heart now. There is nothing to fear. All is unfolding according to the divine genius, and there is a sweet shift in store for you. No matter how dire the circumstances may appear to be or despairing you may feel, there is an avenue through which fulfillment and resolution will be granted. This will happen. That is because the divine seeks wholeness of the one. That means anything and every part of existence, and that includes you and all aspects of your being and life, is claimed by the divine. Your return to the divine is demanded. Every part of you, every life circumstance. The divine keeps rigorous, flawless accounts. I don't know why this is coming through, but I'm just going to stop and say it because it keeps coming through as I'm reading this. The whole thing about feeling unworthy of what is being said here is a programmed condition that each one of us has been programmed to think. That whole business about we are born into sin. I a long time ago, I saw a picture of a newborn baby and a meme, it was a meme actually, and it said, I did what now? Because, huh? What? No, that's not even true. We've been sold that bill of goods from the time we're born, and it's not true. It is a method of domination and control. It is a program that has been installed from the time we were born, uh, to get folks to feel just that, unworthy. And the truth is, that's BS, because on the one hand, some of the same folks that tell you you're born in sin will tell you God don't make no mistakes. Okay, huh? Wait a minute. That's a direct contradiction of each other, which is one of the reasons why I didn't fit in so well with that crowd after a while. You know what I mean? Because that's just not even, in other words, we have to not have critical thinking in order to believe this, but not that, right? So realize that we have all been programmed and conditioned to accept certain things that just really are not true at all. So I'm going to read this part again. No matter how dire circumstances may appear or despairing you may feel, there is an avenue through which fulfillment and resolution will be granted. This will happen. That is because the divine seeks wholeness of the one. That means anything and every part of existence, and that includes you and all aspects of your being and life, is claimed by the divine. Your return to the divine is demanded. Every part of you, every life circumstance. The divine keeps rigorous, flawless accounts. Therefore, nothing shall be unaccounted for, not even that which seems to be outside divine attention and grace at this moment. You must remember that you are a living heart, the dweller at the center between heaven and earth, star and soil, light and dark. If you cannot summon the joy to rise up and meet the divine beloved, fear not. That cunning lover lies deep within the depths, waiting to gather you into sacred embrace as you descend into darkness. Either through flying or falling, you shall be caught and tangled up in divine embrace. So fear not. Cast aside worry and concern. Know that you are thoroughly itemized on the divine ledger, and not one moment of your struggle or suffering shall miss the hawk like gaze of the ever attentive and heavenly beloved. This oracle comes to you with particular guidance. There is a friction or conflict within your life right now, a sense perhaps of being pulled in more than one direction and confusion because of this. You are questioning which path to take, this way or that. What if you choose this path and it turns out that the other path would have been better? But how can you know what choice, if any, is the most needed in your life? So many questions. Your mind is scurrying. There is no other word for it. Backwards and forwards it goes, to and fro, trying to settle upon the truth. I love you too much to allow this to continue unchecked. Surrender it. Give it up. The truth you seek is this: you shall be. You shall manifest your destiny just as the acorn grows into the oak tree. You cannot be other than what you are, and as you accept this, life responds. It breathes and relaxes around you so that what you need can come to you more easily. It finds you, drawn to the need in you that is natural and inviting and not a cause for anxiety or distress. The need leads to satiety. What is desired and what fulfills that desire is one. There are lovers that come to each other, they are lovers that come to each other naturally, even through darkness and confusion, drawn to each other, following the natural course of the universe to become one. So do not fret and fear, my beloved. Do not hold back from that which feels incomplete out of anxiety or distress. It is just the lover that will soon be joined by the beloved. You are recognizing the moment before this occurs. So fret not, and instead let that inner lover loose. Allow her to shake out her hair, put on her most sensuous perfume, and laugh as she dances barefoot in fields of lush grass and fragrant flowers. Let her tempt her beloved to come close, because she can be seen, she can be heard. Her movement sends her scent through the air. She entices the yearning beloved to her, and soon enough they meet, and it becomes possible for yet again two to become one. And then there will be a wild peace and ecstatic contentment within you. If there is any part of you struggling to surrender the conflict between old and new, and isn't that interesting? Because that's exactly what we're in the midst of, letting go of old paradigm stuff, right? So, if there is any part of you struggling to surrender the conflict between old and new, between what has been and what needs to be, between passion and duty, creativity and rationality, between this role or identity, then know this: even the conflict serves. Don't choose either one and believe it is the answer. Sometimes the sacrifice is not one or the other, but the idea that it can only be one or the other. And I know that's a true statement right there. At another level, a level of divine resolution, there is beyond the apparent polarity and conflict a third way, a rising up to where there is only one perfection taking place constantly. That's why I feel like we're moving towards a triality, a way of being that is beyond duality, let's say, into triality. Open your heart. You'll find the bridge to understanding and trusting in that perfection there, where it has always been and will always be. Don't worry, all is happening exactly as it should. This oracle brings you particular guidance. There is a resolution and a perfect coming together of elements in your life that might have seemed disparate or in conflict. Something you've been trying to integrate is so nearly ready to click into place. This says perform the sacred honoring ritual and stay with your process. Now, I will say this: I don't normally read the sacred honoring ritual, but if you are drawn to knowing what it is, reach out to me. I will send you the picture of the words so that you can create your own sacred honoring ritual based on that. But I personally feel like, and this is just me, and everybody gets to choose how they want to do it. That's why I said I'm happy to share it. But I don't read it because I prefer for myself to create my own rituals. That way I'm aware of what is being said and what is being meant and how it is, meant to go. But if you feel drawn and you want to know, and that has happened, I have been contacted by folks who have felt nudged to understand what it's saying there. And so if this is you, do reach out to me and I'll be happy to send you a picture of this page. Something you have been trying to integrate is so very nearly ready to click into place. Perform the sacred honoring ritual and stay with your process. The coherence, the integration, the balance and coming together you seek is on your horizon, approaching you swiftly now. Now, I find that really interesting too, given the energy that we sit in this moment, that all the astrologers are speaking about, this full moon lunar eclipse, and the fact that there are things ending. And I just saw, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I just saw as I was getting ready to come here live, Molly McCord, which is another astrologer that I like to pay attention to, has put out something about the eclipse, and she's speaking to just what we're talking about here, right? So as soon as I wrap this up with you guys, which is happening now, I will be going to take a look at that, and I highly encourage you to do that as well if you feel drawn to doing so. Wow. I cannot get over today's reading, and how it just fits so perfectly for me, for what I've been moving through myself and for the energy of this full moon lunar eclipse. So that's it for today's reading. If the energy holds, I would like to do a live tonight. I don't know if it'll be an intuitive hangout session, if it'll be something with Journey Intuit, because I don't know if Journey Intuit is still in the house there. I just don't know, but I'm feeling, and it could be because of this energy, I'm feeling a conscious conversation looming. And so I don't know if it will be tonight. I don't know if it'll be live. I don't even know because, hey, 5 minutes after I hang up from this, the earth could be slammed by another CME and I could be laid out flat. So all I can tell you about any of that is if you are interested in participating either in a live intuitive hangout session or conscious conversations, make sure that you are subscribed and that you have notifications on, because I really am not making announcements ahead of time, because when I do that and then I can't show up, I feel guilty and I don't want to do that to myself. So I will show up out of the blue. But I am feeling something around the edges at this moment. So if you're around tonight and you are interested in hanging out, come on back and we'll see what transpires. Wow. Okay, so that's it. I love you guys so, so much. And I hope that you will move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you, because really and truly, it's just a matter of perspective. And if you're not feeling overly joyous in any given moment, kind of step back and ask yourself some questions and see if you can't shift your perspective to one way or another, because there's always multiple ways to see something, to look at something. We can look at it through this lens, or we could look at it through this lens, or we could look at it through this lens and see it just a little bit differently. And if you have trouble doing that for yourself, reach out to someone that you know and trust that might be able to help you see, sense, and feel it in a different way. And if you don't have anyone like that and you're interested to reach out to me, do it. I don't charge any money. That's not what this is about for me. If you feel nudged to have a conversation with me, there's a reason. Trust me, there's a reason. And if I feel, drawn to you, there's a reason. And we'll figure that out together. So that's it. That's it for today. I hope you guys do well. And till next time.